Hey guys, this is John here in Los Angeles with the Alpha Channel update for Sunday, November 24th, 2024. 11/24/2024. And before we get into Tarzan 20, I want to talk about two of these conflicted Deck 1 cards. One is yesterday's, the King of Diamonds. The King of Diamonds. And I can hold this up and you can't read it, so it's kind of nonsense. This is better looking. But this one is about you have three families as prisoners who you caught trying to plunder your food. And you're holding them as prisoners. They take 30% of your rations. And a group of human traffickers comes to your community and they offer to buy the prisoners in exchange for whatever goods they have. What do you do? I thought about my answer from yesterday. I usually don't rewatch these. I watch them a little bit while I'm editing them. I used to watch the whole thing while I was editing them, but lately I haven't been because I've been pressed for time. And I remember my answer, but I didn't study it. I think I remember saying that I would sell the prisoners and then chase down the human traffickers afterwards and murder them. You know what I would do? I think I would, and this is important. This is important for how you structure your community. And this next card plays right into it too. This is the Two of Spades. The Two of Spades card is you have a small community. You and your family are offered to join a much larger, more prosperous community, but they'll only accept you because of whatever your personal skills are, whether it's soap making, bullet making, you're a doctor, whatever you can do, it's something that they value you and not the other members of your community. And this answer definitely informed this one. And thinking about this made me change my mind about this. If someone tried to do that to my community, I would see that as a direct threat. These people are looking to break up our group and destroy us and then maybe enslave or murder those remaining members that they didn't invite into their group. And I would approach this the same way I would approach this. You would have to know about these people first. They're a big, prosperous community. You would have to know that a group of human traffickers is approaching your settlement. You would have to know. You have to know who's around you. You would have to have some long-range reconnaissance patrols. If you have a community, if you have more than three families, if you have three families that are taking 30% of your supplies, that means you have at least three times that. So you have 9 families, maybe up to as many as 30, 40 people. You need long-range reconnaissance patrols. You need to know when human traffickers enter your domain. Your domain being the distance between your community and the next community. Everywhere, not just their borders, all the way to their doorsteps. Your domain extends that far. You need to know what threats leave their community toward you. And that's what your long-range reconnaissance patrols need to be informing you about. The moment human traffickers enter your domain, they need to be eliminated. You need to find a way to take these prisoners and make them no longer prisoners and make them part of your community. You should never take prisoners. Now, if that means you need to become Negan and execute people in a group in order to patch over groups, in order to not be at war with them, if that's what you need to do, then that's what you need to do. I don't think you need to execute human traffickers in front of your community. I don't think you need to execute prisoners in front of your community. I think that can be handled outside the eyes of the community. I think that's the whole idea of the community, is that policing is not done in this town square. You can have court, but that's different. Policing is different. Policing your area means patrolling and identifying everything in your domain. That's the way you need to look at it. So, human traffickers would have to be eliminated before they ever approach your community. You should never let your children see a person holding another person on chains. They need to be killed before they reach there. The next one, what would you do with a community who offers you a place at the table and not your family? I can tell you what I'd do. At that meeting between myself and 10 Bears, I'd offer 10 Bears my revolvers or life. You can die right here, or you can live in peace with us. You're not going to separate us. I'll kill every member of your community, and starting with the bosses, even if you're much bigger than us. That's exactly where I would go. I wouldn't meet them unarmed. Even if it's just my hands, I'll rip your fucking throat out. Fucking believe it. Which leads me to this next Tarzan. Tarzan 20. Tarzan is in Pellucidar, which is the Edgar Rice Burroughs version of Savage Land, Hollow Earth. It is inside of a ball with a moon, not really a sun. And in this one, they find an area of shadow, basically nighttime in Savage Land. And here Tarzan is looking on a group of tuskers, basically giant cattle that have been shot and killed by Simon Santiago, who then didn't even take the time to harvest the ivory. So again, starting from the top. Tarzan number 20, Sal Buscema and Bob Hall as the artist and inker / colorist. And David Kraft, the Jew who's been ruining these last 6 issues, has been reduced to plot, with Bill Mantlo as script and Jay Costanza on letters. So they have literally taken it out of this guy's hands. They're like, dude, you're fucking this up. And this issue doesn't get any better. Again, nothing happens, nothing's resolved. I've mentioned a few times how weak writers, when they get into a problem that they can't think their main character's way out of, what they'll do is bring in another power dynamic, another character, another group of characters, another threat. And that's the only thing that happens in this issue. The stakes aren't raised, the threats are just numerically multiplied. So here Tarzan is looking at a group of prehistoric mastodons that have been slaughtered by Simon Santiago. He's one of the mercenaries working with the Mad Arab, and they don't even want to be. They wanted to attack the Mad Arab at first. But now they're down here in Savage Land, and Tarzan is pissed. These saber-toothed tigers are feasting on the slaughtered mastodons. It's sort of like the Americans in the American Plains. The Plains Indians were pissed that the Americans were I'm calling them Americans. That the Europeans were murdering mastodons and just taking their hides or their tusks or whatever. Not mastodons, bison. And here we have Tarzan remembering how Simon Santiago, a few issues back, shot Tantor, his friend, an elephant who had happened to be his friend. This is an amazing cover. I get to keep looking at it, but God, Sal Buscema he's definitely different than his brother. Tarzan is much more Conan. I'd say Tarzan gained about 15 or 20 pounds. His hair is a little shorter. His face is a little older. John Buscema seems to have more fine-tuned control, I guess, in that he can make someone look younger or older easier. This Tarzan is much more adult. And so Tarzan is trying to get past the saber-tooths, and we get these little arrows directing us how to read these panels. When you get a long one on the left and 2 stacked on the right, that's kind of what happens. Oh, I'm sorry, 2 stacked on the left and a long one on the right. So Tarzan and the saber-tooth fall into a trap, a pit, set by reptilians. Reptilians are very few and far between in comics, because the Jews run comics. Do I believe the Jews are reptilians? I believe the Jews are very sensitive to being called shapeshifters and being called vampires and being called name stealers. And I believe they are very sensitive to the reptilian concept, and they get very associated with that because they're cold-blooded in dealing with other people, and they're thieves and liars and traitors, and they'll murder your children and use their blood for their bread. Here we get an amazing 1-page pinup of Tarzan. I love being a sociopath. Fuck you. Tarzan murders all these reptilians. Sal Buscema knew what he was drawing here. Now these reptilians, they're called horribs, and they were in the Edgar Rice Burroughs books that's mentioned by the editor. But just introducing, see, there's the only crime he committed against them was stumbling into their midst. The only crime he committed against the Sabertooth was trying to get past him. There's nothing being accomplished. See what I'm saying? This is much ado about nothing. That's why Mr. Kraft was reduced to plot. Because he's not doing anything. The story isn't progressing. The stakes aren't being raised. No one's learning anything. No one's growing. No one's becoming a better warrior. Tarzan's not being tested. He's not being tested. He's not being challenged. He's just doing what a wild animal does. It looks great. Don't get me wrong. I am here for the ride. I am the target audience. And that's what I want to talk about today is audience expectations and how to properly subvert them and how to improperly subvert them. There's a way your audience has expectations. However you advertised your work, even if all they saw was the cover, if this was the cover and then you got a Renaissance Tea Party where there was someone, where Lord Greystoke, John Clayton, was telling the story to some of Jane's girlfriends, it would still be just as good. If it was good, if it was well done. There's a way to subvert audience expectations, and then there's a way to not deliver on them, and then there's a way to deliberately insult them and to do ritual humiliation. Ritual anti-white humiliation, which is what the Jews are all about. They are all about the long march through the institutions and destroying our culture because they're jealous, because they couldn't do it for themselves. If they had done it for themselves, France, England, Spain, Germany, Austria, the Netherlands, Denmark, America, we'd all be speaking Hebrew, but we're not. They were never the Greeks, they were never the Romans. Fuck you, Jews, get out of my culture. I should explain what's happening here. Tarzan murders all the lizards with the help of the Sabertooth, and together they escape as friends and then depart when they get back to the surface. I love this page. I love this page so much. I really do. And I love this cover. But that's the end of Numa in the book. The rest of the book, now here we get back to the Mad Arab and the Princess Aisha and the mesmerizing reptilians, the Manway or whatever they're called, that can hypnotize you to murder them or to hypnotize you to eat them. So this guy is being hypnotized by a reptilian. Let me tell you what happens here. So this is Princess Aisha with her savage who is not dead. He was only wounded. He was shot and knocked out, and now he's recovered. He's not bleeding, apparently. These guys recover from rifle fire like nobody's business. They all have Wolverine's healing fucking effect. Healing factor. So here this reptilian hypnotizes people and gets them to walk into the water where it eats them. And Princess Aisha goes down after her savage, who's not even her lover yet. They just barely bumped into each other. But he, in a Jewish plot twist of anti-white ritual humiliation, worshipped her for no reason. And so now she goes under and presumably gets eaten. And here we cut to the Mad Arab. So, talking about audience expectations. What are the audience expectations for Princess Aisha and her not quite lover? What are the audience? Why does anyone care about her? Is this forced diversity? Is that what this is? Are they hoping little black girls are buying 1970s Tarzan comic books? Are you out of your fucking mind? Wake the fuck up, Marvel. And I mean today, in 2024, you've been this stupid the entire time you've been alive. It's no wonder you went bankrupt how many dozens of times? Fuck you, Jews. Get out of my culture. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Sal Buscema does amazing work with the art. So here we get the Mad Arab, right? Directing the mercenaries who are just kind of adventurers, like opportunists. That's really how they're written. They have no personalities, really. This one, for some reason, is trying to learn the savages' language. It's kind of like how Jews are. There's a good story about the Namesters where they, in Ukraine, basically Eastern Europe, when it was still Khazaria, anyone traveling from Western Europe to Russia, basically every hotel in Khazaria, from what I understand, they would get to know everything about you, murder you, and then take whatever you were going to take to Russia to get whatever kind of negotiation with Russia, and then steal whatever that you were going to do. There's a whole lot about it. Just look up name stealers in Eastern Europe. You'll find out all about it. So here, the mad Arab, these white guys talk back to him, and he has his eagle attack them. Nothing happens. No one gets murdered. It's just a tool to bully them. Instead of punching them, instead of slapping them, instead of squeezing one by the head and hanging him over a cliff. Like, this is just 2 pages of nothing fucking happens. 2 pages of nothing happens. I think John Buscema must have quit this book. I don't know why his brother got put on it. Maybe he convinced his brother he didn't want to do it anymore. He's like, dude, there's pirates, there's all kinds of cool stuff. It's Tarzan. Here is Simon Santiago and El Cid, and they are looking for the mad Arab. They want to attack him for like no reason. Oh, actually, this guy wants revenge on the mad Arab for leaving him stranded on the shore while he took his mercenary friends with him. So he was disrespected. He wants to murder him because he was disrespected. I think this is the guy who shot the mad Arab in the face and it had no effect. And they out on their pirate ship on an inland sea in the hollow earth. There's a lot of ads. They get sucked down into a whirlpool. And Princess Aisha, now underwater in the sort of swamp, she has to fight this long-toothed monster, basically a saber-toothed lizard. And look at what she does. I'm going to hold that up for a second more. My brain is moving faster than... So here Princess Aisha takes a rock, smashes out the tooth of one of these Monway, I think that's their name, lizard people, smashes out its tooth, stabs it with it, rescues her savage lover who still does not have a name or speak her language, and gets up to the surface. That is a good page. A lot happens, but nothing happens because they're just basically fighting raccoons. They're basically fighting coyotes. Now here is that one that she killed. Here is its mate. It wants revenge. It has both its teeth. It starts the hypnosis process all over again and convinces her to go down under the water. Although this time she stabs its eye out. She's able to break the hypnosis, I guess, with every new drug you build up a tolerance. So she's able to break out of the hypnosis and stab the monster's eye out. Why is a black girl the hero of the Tarzan book? This is forced diversity. That's what this is. And no white guy finds black women appealing. You never see white guys marrying black girls, except Bill Burr. Guess he's the only one. And Robert De Niro. Now here we finally get back to Tarzan, who has been tied up by this gang of savages. The last time we saw him, so he stumbles into an ambush and gets tied up. The last time we saw him, he escaped with the saber-toothed tiger at the beginning of the book. Now he stumbles into this gang of savages, gets tied up, and then gets set on the back of a pterodactyl, where he proceeds to kick off the pilot and take the reins with his teeth. What the holy fuck? Again, nothing happened with the story. The story has not progressed. The mad Arab and his group have gotten off the boat and are wandering around inland somewhere. I think I sort of talked past that. They actually sink their boat, and now they're wandering inland in some shadowed area that's like night. And nothing happens. David Kraft, looking for opportunities to do anti-white humiliation. That's all Jews do in that all your media, white people, all the stuff where a Jew has a free hand is anti-white humiliation rituals. That's what it is. And it's supposed to be edgy or pushing the envelope, pushing the boundaries. No, that's not what it is. They're humiliation rituals. That's what they are. So wake up, America. Legacy of a Mad Scientist, Legend of Ashley Fox. I suppose this isn't much of a commercial if I want to convince you guys to check out my work. And toward that end, I do need to change my direction on this. But audience expectation versus subverting that expectation in a good way that makes them feel like they invested their money and didn't get ripped off. Look at the difference. So I suppose entertainment media is the only place where you charge someone to insult them, right? Now that's not what's happening in this book particularly. It's certainly what's happening in a lot of other media going on today, a lot of other stuff in the world going on today. Now, a book that you feel happy about when you read something that's rewarding, that your expectations were rewarded and subverted in a good way. These cards are a great example of this. Some of these cards read really, it's all the end of the world, but some of them can put you in a sort of a relatively good spirits, good humor. Some of them are like, you have done everything right. You are ready for the end of the world. Now, granted, that's wish fulfillment because no one's ready for the end of the world. No one's done everything right. You're not ready for the end of the world, especially if you have a wife and kids. You're fucked, you know? Pray to God that we do not get a nuclear war. Pray to God. You know, that's kind of what these Jews are doing. They're like, we're demanding everyone let us be tyrants or we will just plunge the entire world into the Third World War. And we're not, all we have to do to ignore a tyrant is just ignore them. In today's world, you can literally ignore tyrants. Let them all go on the blue sky. The other thing is, at the end of a story, what do you win? What does a hero win? So what are the audience expectations? Now, I heard this on Film Threat, the YouTube series show thing, and I want to say it was Corey Mandel, who is a Jew. He said, at the end of a story, you don't win treasure, you win community. And that's great. But how can you do that if you're destroying communities? How can you win a community if you're destroying communities? We're watching our communities be destroyed. You're not going to win anything that way. So why am I obsessed about this today? I don't know. I really don't want to be talking about this. I want to be talking about funner stuff. They're doing a Comicsgate auction right now. I have a bunch of stuff I need to be drawing. It's just that I really resent. Here's what it is. I love these characters, Tarzan, Conan. I'm the target audience for this stuff. And when, as the target audience, you know what? Here's the crossover. It's the disrespect. It's the disrespect. People get murdered for disrespect. And one of the characters in this book wants to kill one of the other characters over disrespect. Now, from the outside looking in, that looks ridiculous. That looks absurd. But from the inside looking out, no, it is not so absurd at all. It's not so absurd at all. So, yeah. I don't know what you guys are reading. I just finished The Unremembered Empire, Warhammer Book 28. I'm about to start number 29. I have no idea even what the title is. I just got it uploaded. It's an audiobook, so it's kind of like listening to a book. You're not reading it. Reading is definitely more work. Takes a long time. Listening is, and you get, now here's what you don't get. When you read something, you can give characters your own voice. But there's so many characters in Warhammer, it would be really hard to do that extra effort of giving them, sort of reading it in a characterizing them. Warhammer doesn't lend itself well to easy characterization. A lot of the characters speak in similar. They all have the same vocabulary. It's very sort of elitist English and very formal. So there's not a lot of variety. Some of the characters are more rural, more earthy, but most of them are highly educated warriors, so they have a very similar sort of dialogue. And again, when you're, the challenge is, so all of these bits, right? is antagonist, protagonist. In this particular book, wow, I'm getting his ads everywhere I open it up. All of these bits, so Tarzan and the saber-tooth, Tarzan and the reptilians, Aisha and this lizard, the mad Arab and the mercenaries, it's all very clearly protagonist, antagonist, the bully and the victim. That's the only thing this guy seems to be capable of. There's no nuance whatsoever. There's no character development. He couldn't do the X-Men, right? Like, you have antagonists and protagonists in your own team. And then you have the same thing in another team. And you still need to stay focused on the mission. What even is the mission? These people are just wandering around. They don't even know. We have no idea what any of them are looking for. So does the author know what they're looking for? So, yeah. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. See you guys tomorrow.